I was a very young analyst, very early in my career, and I was asked to act up in a managerial position. So I was given a allowance to act up, and then I actually won the job in the end, and I was so excited. And they just left me on that pay rate, which was, I found out years later, exceptionally low compared to all my other peers at that level. It's often you don't actually know. So when I talk about my only experience of equal pay, that may not be my only experience, it's the only one I actually know about. Obviously that made me feel angry, but it also, over the years, has made me question the ethics of the whole process. How can you be fair, and how can you be a good leader, and how can you be a good manager, and how can you, in my example was in government, how can you be a good public servant if you actively know you're paying some of your staff less than others for doing the same job? Pay transparency is one of the key things we have to close the gender pay gap and of course deal with unequal pay. If we know what we're worth and what the market is worth, and we know what others are being paid, it's pretty hard to pay us less than what we're worth. The key to getting businesses engaged in pay transparency is for some organisations to role model that, and I think we will find that there are some leaders in New Zealand who think that good businesses pay their staff fairly. Government should right now be looking into how best to work with business and organisations to put in some sort of regulation over a period of time. I think we should give organisations a grace period to look at their own statistics, work out how they're going to move forward. But for those organisations that aren't doing that, there should be some sort of nudge, and it should happen fairly soon. Businesses will gain competitive advantage by being transparent about their pay and their situation. Great businesses who are honest about their gaps, who are working hard to address them, are very, very attractive places to work, and very attractive for us to go and purchase their services. So it's only going to build their brand. Through a pay transparency kind of regime or policy, they will have to have a look, and once you know you've got a gap, most people will seek to address it fairly quickly. It's kind of in the dark and in the shadows where gender pay gap lives, and let's shine some sunshine in there and get rid of this scourge. I think one of the most progressive things we could do moving forward is actually have a discussion about our pay scales and how we pay each other and how we behave, and become a much more comfortable in the whole money conversation. Kiwis are absolutely horrible at talking about money. Often we can't even talk about it at home within our families. We have all this cringe around money, but because we have these attitudes, we have things like the gender pay gap and unequal pay. So we don't have to share our own personal data, and the way we can create regimes is quite safe for people, but we still need to know how we're all placed and what we're all doing, and maybe we do need to stand up for ourselves and ask for that pay rise because we're worth it. Young woman, old woman, every type of woman, if you don't think you're being paid fair, go and ask your employer, am I being paid fair? If you're not feeling brave enough to do it, take your union with you, take your friends with you, take a group of people with you, but go and ask your employer, am I being paid fairly? And they will have to give you an answer, and then you'll know. And once we know, then we open up the conversation about what do we do next.